Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills for you to level up your way with words and become much more articulate. In today's episode, we're diving into the world of social skills along with emotional intelligence, and we're going to be answering the question, is sarcasm rude? Sarcasm is a very hyperbolic statement that is meant to be for comedic purposes, but it's not always meant for comedic purposes, which is the reason that I'm making this video. A few years back, I went to Philadelphia, and I noticed that Philadelphia was a lot different than Florida. Philadelphia was sort of like a middle ground between Florida and New York, where it was more of a tamed city than New York, but it was more of a ruckus than Florida. I like to call it the middle ground territory. The time that I went, it was freezing. And I recall there was this one day when I called for an Uber driver. The Uber driver takes some time. Eventually he comes, but I can't tell if that's our Uber driver. It seems like the right car, but his license plate has a bunch of frost in it because it's so cold. So eventually I walk up to the car, I knock on the window. This guy puts the window down. He seems like a middle-aged man, 45, pretty heavy. He has hair on the sides, but no hair on top. And I'm like, hey, are you Tom? And he's like, no, I'm the Prince of England. And I'm like, what? And suddenly, he goes from a very serious face to busting out laughing. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm Tom. Come on in. So this guy was being sarcastic. He was being exaggerated. He was making this hyperbolic statement like, yeah, man, I'm the Prince of England. But he did not mean any disrespect by it. That was one of his core personality traits. Throughout my time in Philadelphia, I came to notice that a lot of Uber drivers were like this. They were very sarcastic. And I thought, man, is this something that is built into Philly people? And eventually, one day, I wrote a thread on my Twitter account, which you should follow, by the way, at ArmaniTalks. And I was just like, man, something about sarcastic people, they've always rubbed me the wrong way, but I still do not find them disrespectful. And there was this one account that I followed. He was living in Philly at the time. He comments on the tweet, and he's like, come on, Armani, us Philly people, we love to bust your balls, which is translation for, we love sarcasm, right? We love to joke around with you, but you won't always know if we're joking around with you or not. So after seeing this a lot, I came to realize, okay, sarcasm is not always disrespectful. Yet, to a lot of people that aren't fond of sarcasm, they find it disrespectful. Why? The reason why is due to a polarity. In one moment, we're getting a very hyperbolic statement, an exaggeration, I'm the Prince of England. But at another level, we're getting a deadpan delivery. Sarcastic people often have this very emotionless expression when they're delivering their form of humor, which makes it very susceptible to being interpreted the incorrect sort of way. So if you're someone that finds sarcasm to be annoying, you find it to be pompous, you find it to be rude, just remind yourself why you find it to be pompous, snobby, and rude. It's because of the polarity. At one point, you have exaggeration. At the other point, you have deadpan delivery. Now, with all that pushed out of the way, yeah, we get it. Sarcasm is not always disrespectful, but sometimes it is. Sometimes sneak haters are people that will hate on you, but they'll do it in a very coy sort of way. These sort of people will use sarcasm to bury insults in the form of jokes. We know someone like that. And one of the first times I saw this, or I've seen it plenty of times, but the first time I became aware of hating through jokes was when there was this one guy I knew who was working very, very hard in the finance field to get a promotion. Eventually, he got a promotion. And I recall I don't know who the person was, maybe a relative, maybe a friend or such. This guy was like, "Oh, congratulations on your promotion. What do you do again? You play with Excel sheets all the time, right?" And just the way he said it, like there was so much vitriol in his tone where I was like, whoa, this guy's being sarcastic, but he's not over here actually congratulating the person on the promotion. Instead, he's insulting them. He's undermining the effort that the finance field takes, and he's boiling it down into it strictly being playing with Excel sheets. Now, you may be like, oh, well, you're overthinking this one. And this is something that often happens, where if you break down the rude form of sarcasm with logic, there's always going to be someone else who's going to be like, oh man, you were overthinking it. But this is when you, the person who was present, you heard the tone and you're like, you may think I'm overthinking it, but trust me, I was there. There was a certain tone, a certain delivery that was being made that undermined the position. Now, we have established that sarcasm can be very normal, and we have also established that it could be rude and disrespectful. The question is, how do we spot the difference? Well, this is where judgment is built, and judgment is built from knowing that you can't ever figure something out with full certainty. There's always an element of risk involved. One of the frameworks that I've learned is that if you get to know someone for a long time, you'll see if sarcasm is their personality trait. And these type of people are normally not only sarcastic with you, they're sarcastic with multiple groups of people. So this is the type of individuals who I wouldn't classify as disrespectful. The people that I consider disrespectful are what I call situational sarcastic people. They start to feel like a joker out of nowhere when you're winning. When something good is happening in your life, suddenly they're just busting out joke after joke after joke. But normally, they're not that sarcastic. That is someone that I would keep at arm's length. I would say that this person is showing traits of being a sneak hater. So with all that being said, should you hang out with sarcastic people? I believe this is a case-by-case basis. There is no set rule on this. What I have noticed though is that in my personal life, most of my friends have the type of humor where you can tell they're joking. I don't really have any friends that are sarcastic. And by friends, I mean people that are in my inner circle. Acquaintances though, I know plenty of sarcastic acquaintances. The handyman, the plumber, just different people in general. And am I annoyed if an acquaintance is sarcastic? Not at all. Because if an acquaintance is sarcastic, this is a person that I'm not always seeing. So in the rare times I do see them, I'm like, okay, whatever. Like their difference in personality from mine, I'll view it as a social exercise. It's not a big deal at all. So with friends, I like to hang out with a lot of people with a similar humor type as me. If a sarcastic person does come along and it's in their personality trait, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But for the most part, I found myself gravitating more towards non-sarcastic people. But with acquaintances, I'm more than willing to be open and receptive to their personality. So hopefully that gives you some sort of guidance in your personal life on how to tackle sarcastic people, especially if you're not too fond of that form of humor. So that's today's talk. Hopefully you learned a thing or two about social intelligence, emotional intelligence, and much more. If you enjoyed the talk, be sure to hit that like right on below. Subscribe to the channel for the latest videos on social intelligence, emotional intelligence, creativity, dealing with different personality types, and much more. And thank you very much for joining the Armani Talks YouTube channel.